Can you dive into the mortgage protection a little bit more? I think that's something that's I don't know if you see this a lot, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. So I think it's something that's not very commonly spoken about. So could you dive into a little bit more of the details of exactly what that does for you?
100%. So you've got, I think most people realize that their biggest asset is their ability to make income. So as long as we have an ability to work, get a job, make sure income's coming in, that's going to keep everything we have in life in place. Now, again, most people at younger ages don't think of this as much. They don't think about mortality as much. Older people tend to do it more, but they're in a different category. I'll talk about that in a second. But people are thinking about, okay, if something happens to me, I don't want my other spouse, counterpart, kids, grandkids having to figure out the bill of the mortgage. So it's really a cash flow problem. If it's a husband or wife, it's making sure, hey, if the one spouse goes, how can we make sure that the biggest bill, which is typically the mortgage, is off the table? If they're young and they're healthy, how can we do that with a policy that costs them the least amount? That does also include things like living benefits, like the terminal, the chronic, the critical illnesses, in case they get things like a heart attack, a stroke, or cancer while they're alive, to protect that home and pay out to the family member that they want to protect. Now, if they're older, this is one thing I know is older people, because they are having maybe some health issues or maybe because of age, insurance starts to price out. End of the
Mm.
day, the lender is not saying, hey, we need the whole mortgage today. What they're saying is we need the next mortgage payment. So if you can give that family a year, 2 years, 3 years worth of mortgage payments, that gives the spouse, the next of kin, people who want to keep the house or sell it, time. And if you remember, Dagan, you probably remember 2008 when the markets were crashing due to a mortgage crisis. You couldn't just sell a house to anybody back then. You had to wait it out, had to wait out the market. And that's what these type of plans do, is it buys time for family members not to have to make a fire sale on the equity, or to pass through some really good heirlooms just to sell it quick.
Yeah, not having to make a quick decision and probably losing out on some money there.
Yep, got it.
Awesome. Well, when it comes to, so you're doing these deals all the time, I would imagine. You see all the good and the bad from it. You probably even replace some policies from some other companies. So I'm sure you've seen some bad ones. Um, what what financial mistakes are families commonly making when they're buying into these products?
Yeah, so I think and a good point on the replacement side, because I think most of the conversation that has been appropriate, because in the end of the day, we're trying to figure out needs and make sure things make sense to families. Most people don't know what they got, and when I call a family, even with mortgage protection, because we have ways of getting in front of that. I'm expense. It doesn't matter what we're working. People don't know what they have if they have something already. You're asking them some basic questions. When does this policy end? How long is it level? When does the premiums go up on you? They don't know. Everybody will just assume it's good for my whole life. It's the lowest cost ever, and it's giving me like $1 million. And then you start asking more questions, and you find out, oh, okay, this is worth having a conversation with the insurance company. So it's not about let's call and see how to change it. It's more about let's get you aware of what you have. So in one bucket, I have people that, just don't have any living benefits on a policy. They got an old school policy that just pays out when they die. And if it's recent enough, you compare it to things that we have nowadays, they can get all those living benefits built in at a cheaper price. So the value and what it can do for them and their family goes up tremendously. That's one half.